This is the Kick-Ass Geek Cast, and I am your host, Daddy Warpig. I am back Wednesday, November 12th, 2014, broadcasting deep beneath the House of Geekery in a secret hidden bunker to protect our show from the SJW killer bots, even now looking to put us away in death camps. That's right, it is the Nazi murder death rant episode of the Kick-Ass Geek Cast. I will get back to that in just a sec. I want to remind you that the Kick-Ass Geek Cast is not the only thing that we here in the secret bunker provide. You can read us online at the blog, the House of Geekery, daddywarpig.com. Once again, daddywarpig.com, or follow us on Twitter at daddy_warpig, at daddy_warpig. I am not kidding about the Nazi murder death rant, but as usual, we have a lot of things to talk about today, so we're going to hit a couple of other smaller points first before we dive deep into the mayhem and madness. Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia, today asked good-hearted pro-Gamergate folks to go to gamergate.wikia.com and write what we would think is an appropriate article. Now, this is not necessarily the article that will get put on Wikipedia. He is asking for pros to go out there, craft an article that could be put on Wikipedia so we can look at, so that they can look at what might be appropriate, what might be fair. If you have information, if you have evidence, if you have links, anything that you can provide to either write the article or provide sources for the article, gamergate.wikia.com. I will provide the full link in the notes below. Please contribute. The Gamergate article is in mediation right now. What that means is that there is a big old stink about how it's been handled. And those Wikipedia editors, I mean, this is right to the top. This is right to the founder, right to the person who runs the whole foundation. And those editors who have been biased against the pros, who have acted to cover up evidence of collusion and corruption, their role in this is being discussed. They are formulating policy and decisions right now. And Jimmy Wales is reaching out to the pros to get information and evidence from you. There is more knowledge available at the link. You need to follow all Wikipedia rules about sourcing. Don't source to blogs, personal websites, or low-quality sources. And please, if you have links to evidence that we can use, the last thing that they want is citation needed scattered throughout this article, because we can't support the ideas, the events, and so forth that we are putting in there. So please go take a look, add your own information, add in evidence. This is a great thing. This is a big thing. The Wikipedia article has long been a source of problem for us, and we finally have a chance to put it right. If you can contribute, please do. Now, this is, I admit, compared to what I'm about to get into, small potatoes. And yet it was so delicious and so indicative and actually provides a good introduction to what I'm going to get into that I had to start with this. It is an example of a full Macintosh. Radical Bytes, the real account, not the parody account, said this yesterday. San Francisco is full of repugnant white dudes who believe capitalism and their personal technology idea will save the poor brown people. Now, I want you to consider that for just a second. This hipster is condemning white people from San Francisco who believe that their personal technology idea, like, I don't know, I'm just guessing here, maybe a YouTube series of videos, will save the poor brown people. And you kind of tilt your head and you kind of look at him and you kind of think, what? I mean, wait, what? This is a bad thing? You're upset about this? That San Francisco is full of hipster douchebags just like you, who have all the attitudes and beliefs and arrogance just like you? I hate to go running back to a cliche from my childhood, but isn't this the pot calling the kettle black? Isn't this a nearly lethal dose of obliviousness? Isn't this a person who has more interest in criticizing other people than in supporting anyone else but himself? I mean, this is just nuts. The complete lack of the ability to look at yourself and understand yourself and see who you are. Not that people are perfect. We know they're not perfect. At the same time, most people who reach adulthood have at least assimilated, cultivated a minimal amount of self-awareness. And this jackass hasn't. And you've got to wonder exactly what it is he thinks he's doing. He's making fun of people just like him. He's making fun of himself. He's complaining about himself. He's sitting back on his giant throne, sneering at the world, telling them what they should be doing, telling them what the right thing to do is, and all he's doing is pointing to himself. I weep when I'm forced to realize that people like this, and in case you don't know, McIntosh is the man behind Tropes versus Women. He's the script writer for all of Sark's videos. These two con men have massive, outsized influence, and they're idiots. And they're oblivious idiots. They don't even pretend to look at what they themselves are doing, which is not surprising when you're a con man. Because when you're a con man, the last thing you can afford to do is analyze your own behavior. If you did, you would notice that you're a scumbag. That said, this level of obliviousness, of foolishness, is not unusual. And I will say this for Mr. Macintosh, he is not at least a rabid, foaming, angry, arrogant Nazi. And you may think I'm going to talk about Ian Chong. I'm not, sadly enough. No, I'm sorry, people. I hate to tell you this. There's a guy out there who's an Asian white supremacist who, when he was younger, tweeted, this is a quote, "Hitler is my fucking idol." Okay? And yet, somehow, this Asian white supremacist who loves Hitler is not the biggest Nazi involved in Gamergate. Not anymore. There is now a bigger Nazi involved. And it shocks my mind, and it kind of depresses me that out there in the world is a person that makes Ian Miles Chong look mild, mainstream, innocuous. This is Jordie Tait. And Jordie Tait, on his Facebook page, he is, by the way, and I hope this won't shock you off your seats, he is, by the way, a video games journalist. And I'm going to read to you direct quotes from an article he posted around noon today. Hey, StarCityGames.com. This is the introduction, but it's actually important because of the last piece of information I'm going to give you. Hey, StarCityGames.com. If you're going to delete my author page, and you might as well delete all of my articles, consider this a request to do so. And my final thanks for hosting all of my work over the years. No hard feelings. I don't believe him based on what he says next. I assume you had some problem with something I said on Twitter about Gamergate. Well, guess what? Now I'm going to swear. Not me personally. I'm just going to quote him, and I'm going to quote him accurately. And he swears a lot, so those of you that are not into the swears, just be forewarned, I apologize. Guess what? Fuck Gamergate and every worthless piece of shit in it. Yes, the women too. Yes, the minorities too. Well, I have to say this before we descend deep into madness. It's nice of him to at least acknowledge that there really are women and minorities involved in the pro side. That's this howling, shrieking, insane Nazi is more open-minded towards not your shield than just about every other anti out there, which is kind of scary when you think about it. Yes, the minorities too. I'd say the same about women and minorities who joined the KGB or the National Sozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterparty. By the way, that's the Nazi party. He puts out the whole thing. So he begins this piece by saying that people who have joined Gamergate are the moral equivalent of KGB troops, officers, or members of the Nazi party. So someone said, oh yeah, he got to the third paragraph before he went Godwin. No. This is the second paragraph. He got to full Godwin right at the end of the second paragraph. He's upset, clearly. And this is the funny thing about it. This is the amusing thing about it. This is the thing that just tickles me pink. This is why I read the boring introduction. He's got pissed off, and he dropped this nuke, and he went full Nazi. Yeah, he didn't go full Macintosh. He went right past full Macintosh, right past Space Cadet Wesley. He went right to full Nazi. Because the person who runs this Star City Games.com, Evan Irwin, posted this. So this is the cause of all this butthurt. This is the cause of this meltdown. This is what brought this all on. Hey, Jordie, just FYI, SCG has deleted all author pages as we now use a tagging system, at least the author pages I believe you're looking for, with bio plus list of links. The current /new system is in place for a while now. Using date range controls, you can find your previous work. Yeah. He like limped off into this massive, massive rant for no good reason. It's beautiful is what it is. I'll be frank with you, continuing to quote now. There is literally zero chance I ever change even one letter of one syllable of one word of one sentence of one tweet. I wish I was exaggerating that. You're used to me exaggerating that. Not an exaggeration, direct quote. One sentence of one tweet I've made on the subject of feminism, affirmative action, and or gamergate. So you might as well go ahead and remove me and we'll both go our separate ways with thanks. I'm not making one concession for gamergate. I'll die first. Literally, I have made my peace with my existence and I am prepared to die. You know, if I was a worse person, if I was a bad person, I might make some kind of snarky comment right here about him being prepared to die, but I know for a fact that that would be taken as a death threat by the antis, so I will not, because I'm strong that way. I'm so absolutely sick of 4chan numbed males, cowed and self-righteous internalization queens, their grandfathered in media strangleholds. I literally have no idea what that last clause means. Grandfathered in media strangleholds. These people have the entire media establishment on their sides, and they're still whining that they can't get good press. Well, here's a clue, Jordie. If you're frustrated, you can't get good press, stop making death threats. I haven't read the death threat part. I'm almost there. Their intellectually corrupt tactics and methods, their miserable damage they see no problem inflicting, their bullshit, their fucking bullshit politics. I'm looking at you, Adam Baldwin, you rusty right-wing Nixon trombonist. So much for me ever watching Firefly again. Why do people think that's a threat? Why the hell do... It's 2014. Firefly's been off the air for 13 years, okay? People who were born the year Firefly was on the air are almost in high school. That's not a threat anymore. So much for me ever watching Firefly again and the all-encompassing stupidity about which they remain utterly oblivious. I want to read that sentence again. The all-encompassing stupidity about which they remain utterly oblivious. See, I, your host, interject. Previous segment about the full Macintosh. See also Jordie Tait himself. Utterly oblivious. I'm not the one making light of the final solution. He's referring to an earlier tweet he sent, which said he wants to round up and murder everyone in Gamergate. Compared to the rest of this rant, that's actually a fairly mild statement. In fact, I'm using the suggested punishment fittingly because I honestly and without hesitation, here we go, folks, think that each and every one of these fucking assholes, again, he's referring to people on the pro side, pro gaming, pro gamer, pro ethics. He thinks that each and every one of the pros should be tossed into Treblinka. Now, Treblinka, for those of you that don't know, was a Nazi death camp, a concentration camp for World War II. We're going to pause real quick because I'm going to make a quick personal interjection. I don't talk about myself a lot on these shows because it is not about me. It's about Gamergate. It's about the news. It's about what's going on. Even when I'm involved in something, I don't talk about my role in it. But I'm going to dive back into my past, into my childhood. When I was a child, I spent the first 10 years of my life, 8 of it, living in Germany. Lived in Germany for 8 years. During that time, I went all over Europe to see all kinds of gorgeous, beautiful things. We went to London, we went to Amsterdam, we went to Venice, Italy. We went to the Berlin Wall when it was still the Berlin Wall, when it was still under control of the Soviet Union. But I also personally, with my family, visited, before I was 10 years old, 2 different concentration camps. One of which was Bergen-Belsen, and one of which was Dachau. I have actually personally, literally myself, been to 2 different concentration camps. And because of that, I tend to be a little bit more sober and a little bit more serious about Holocaust references. And you might think that I'm offended or aghast. I'm not offended, because this rant is so over the top and insane that despite the fact that he is talking about putting pros in camps to be gassed to death with Zyklon B, to be starved and worked to death, to be machine gunned and buried in pits, to be shoveled into ovens and burned. And I have seen the actual ovens that were actually left over from World War II. I have seen the ovens that he is talking about having pros shoveled into. I don't find that funny, but at the same time, I'm not offended, because I am so shocked, so stunned that someone would write this, and it gets worse. That's just the beginning. I am so stunned that someone could write this, that some intelligent human being voluntarily thumped their ass into an easy chair and stretched out their spindly little fingers and laid them on a keyboard and went tack, 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 tack. I am so shocked that someone did that deliberately, thinking it was a good idea, that I haven't worked my way around to being offended yet. Talking about an E.D. Sarkeesian, let's skip past that, gives a, horrific, at least gives a nod to the Holocaust, the horrific things that happened, and then starts to go into a long, long, long list. And this is what I just can't wrap my brain around. He spends the middle third of this piece giving a litany of supposed crimes that have been committed against women for, and this is a quote, 11,970 years. Women have been being victimized. Now, I don't know how he narrowed it down to 11,970 years, that's when it started. It makes me wonder what suddenly changed 11,971 years ago to start the abuse of women. He's making the point that what happened to the Jews was nothing. What happened to the Jews in Nazi Germany was meaningless because women have suffered so much worse. 50, 100,000, million, billion. 50 billion. Sorry, I was counting the little groups of 3 so I can make sure to get the right appalling number. 50 billion women suffered 11,970 years of fucking bullshit, as described above, and I won't even get into the Holocaust-worthy violence and atrocities to which they were increasingly subjected the further one travels back into the Dark Ages. 50 billion. So I'm sorry, you might get your foreskins in a tizzy when I mention Bergen-Belsen. Yeah, I'll admit, it's kind of upsetting because I've actually been to Bergen-Belsen. And yeah, I find that a little upsetting. I'm finished with stupid fuckers running their mouths and holding back progress for women in a billion areas while being slow and self-important enough to be blissfully unaware of the damage done. Gamergate is unequivocally doing just by existing what the Nazis claimed in their propaganda that the Jews were doing, making the world worse. Yeah. You see, the Nazis lied about the Jews. The Nazis and all of Europe, which is why the Holocaust was covered up so successfully, is because anti-Semitism infused the culture of Europe. All of these lies about the Jews, dark lies, ugly lies, nasty lies. And what he's saying is that the reality, the actual deeds done by Gamergate pros are worse than the fictitious deeds attributed to Jews prior to World War II. That when the Tsar published the Protocols of the Distinguished Elders of Zion and lied about what Jews were, that the lies are actually better than the reality of Gamergate. That's his thesis. How can you be offended by that? Because this, and I'll tell you why. Why that doesn't offend me is because it has so little connection to anything resembling empirical reality. He may as well be ranting about lizard people. He may as well be ranting about invaders from the 8th dimension, because it has so left the domain of reality and entered into the domain of madness that there is nothing to connect him to this world. This is not logic. This is not reason. This is not evidence. This is what I call expressive argumentation. It is a position written solely for the purpose of allowing it. It's verbal masturbation, folks. That's what it is. It's intellectual masturbation. It only exists not to inform other people, not to help other people, but just so the writer can express his feelings, just so he can get off intellectually. He only has one emotion to express, and that is purest, rawest, ugliest, nastiest, rancidest hate. Unbridled hate, disgusting hate, hate sloshing around in quantities that dwarf the waters of the oceans. Expressive argumentation, you see it a lot from fanatics, where they do not have any information. All they have is hate and the need to communicate that hate to those who they hate. And any facts that they recite are only there to justify the hate, to undergird the hate, to allow the hate. They just want to hate the people that they wanted to hate anyway. That's what this piece is. And this is what he blames Gamergate for. Imagine the millions beaten to death, and he's talking about women here, by stones, burned alive, raped, and then cut and left to bleed out. Imagine 11,000 years of that. That's why they could die tomorrow and I would pump the fist. You, yes you, bottom-dwelling, complete idiot, neck-beard loser, piece of motherfucking shit, Taco Bell, breath-wheezing, greasy iPhone-dialing, tank ass, putting mayonnaise on dental floss, scumbag. The guy double-fisting memes and cheese slices. The guy making a Custer's Revenge sprite in Minecraft. The guy who has never written or produced anything worth a damn in your pitiful chair-compacting, back-of-neck, wiping life. That's why he hates the pros. Because he blames us for 11,970 years of all of that, for which we are personally responsible, as if we had committed each and every one of these fictitious bullshit claims ourselves. I am not going to say that this person typifies antis, because he doesn't. Yet at the same time, though being more virulent in his hatred, that same hatred, it seems to me, based on what I have seen, suffuses the antis. And it is an ugly thing. This is why what I wrote the other day was so important to me, because most of the people in Gamergate, the vast majority of people in the pro side, have been abused like this for months, have had charges similar to this, if not as grotesque, thrown in their faces, and yet you have not become that which you fight. You have not become hateful. You have not become virulent. You have not started openly wishing and imagining and idolizing the mass murder of your opponents. You swap memes, you make jokes, you lift each other's burdens, and you stay on point. I said this on Twitter, and this was not a rah-rah speech. This was not meant to inspire people or pump you up. It was just the straight truth. I am amazed. I am awed by how much you pros have stayed away from hate, have kept a hold of lightheartedness and laughter and joy in the face of vitriolic abuse like this. It is astounding to me what you have done. And I cannot explain it. I do not know why. I would have bet against it ever happening, but you are an amazing group of people, and I am just thankful that I got a chance to know you, to work with you, to fight with you, to do something decent for the world. I'm your host, Daddy Warpig. This has been the Kick-Ass Geek Cast for November 12th, 2014. You can catch me online at daddywarpig.com. Follow me on Twitter at daddy_warpig, at daddy_warpig. This show is on every weeknight, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. If you like it, subscribe, retweet it, like it on Twitter. Use one of those 30 buttons below to send it out to people who might enjoy listening to the show. I am signing off for tonight. I will be back.